Welcome everyone to the Chennai Grand Masters 2025. On the left of your screen is the top seed of the event, Arjun Erigaisi, Ajubai like we like to call him, and he's facing Awonder Liang, who is rated 2696, close to 2700, a very talented American player, and Arjun is definitely looking for a lot of things in this event, because if he manages to reach 2800 in this tournament, which is a very tough task because he's 24 Elo points away, he's at 2776, he would suddenly be giving Hikaru Nakamura a run for his money for the candidates rating spot. And we have on our screen Jayesh Ranjan, a very high-ranking official in Telangana government, who's just made the move knight f3, and wonderful to see such guests coming in, because this could lead to more events, more things happening in India for chess. For now, all attention on this clash, a handshake between Arjun and Awonder, and this, dear friends, is the Chess Neurons recap of the day. Stay tuned till the end of the video to find something very interesting. Arjun opens the game with 1e4, and Awonder pushes his pawn to e5. Knight comes out to f3, knight to c6. Let's see what Arjun has up his sleeve. He goes for the Italian with bishop to c4, and Awonder pushes his bishop to c5. Arjun plays pawn to c3, just trying to push forward with d4, and that's a possible move here, but it's a very direct move. And Arjun goes for d3, which is much more solid and sedate. He's like, I'll try to sort of solidify my position. d6 played to open up the bishop, and now Arjun short castles here. Awonder brings his bishop back to b6. This is all very, very well-known stuff. And rook e1 played, just making sure to create this luft for the knight to go from d2 to f1 to g3. But Awonder kind of makes the play very direct by attacking the pawn on f2. And with rook e2, you are defending this pawn. Black short castles here. Now you can see that this pawn is pinned on f7, so not so easy to get in f5 move. Knight goes back to f6, but yes, there is generally an idea of king h8 and f5 in such positions. Arjun comes back rook e1. And yeah, black also lost some time coming forward and going back. White also lost some time, rook e2, rook e1. So it's kind of compensated here. We are back in normal territory. Knight goes to d2. Arjun not really spending any time to create a luft for his bishop, because he knows that even if the knight attacks the bishop, he can go bishop b5 to a4 to c2. Now knight goes to e7 from Awonder, and that's a very typical maneuver. He's going to g6. Arjun pushes his pawn to d4. All well-known things. Yeah, here knight c6 back, because not only do you defend the pawn, but you also attack this pawn on d4. And now Arjun plays a4, because if you were to take ed4 here, then cd4, and if knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, knight b3, the bishop is a little bit kind of trapped. That's what is played. So a5 by Awonder, bishop b5 played by Arjun, and now Awonder takes the pawn. And if Arjun takes back, then he would lose the pawn with knight d4. So knight jumps to c4, attacking the bishop on b6. He takes d takes c3. Knight takes on b6. C takes b6, and this is very interesting. Yeah, this position, you must know that this has already happened very recently between Lei Qingye and Tan Zhongyi from the FIDE Women's World Cup 2025. And Arjun is of course well prepared. I'm pretty sure Awonder knows about this game because he was the second and trainer of Carissa Yip during that tournament. Rook e8, putting pressure on the e4 point. Queen comes to c2 to defend this pawn. And what does white have in return for the missing pawn? Well, white has two bishops. The pawn on d6 is weak. The extra pawn is kind of doubled. Bishop d7. I like how Awonder is playing here, but look at Arjun's time. He has 1 hour 35 minutes 51 seconds. Insane how quickly Arjun's playing. By the way, the d6 pawn is attacked. So now Awonder again takes time, and Arjun is so confident. He gets up every time he makes his move. He's just showing to Awonder that he has it all figured out. Again, knight d4. This is also how the game went. And here, Tan Zhongyi had gone d5, which is a very, very interesting and a good move. Will Awonder also play that? No, he goes knight c6. And this is the first new move of the game. A very natural and normal move now is rook a d1. But he goes bishop f1. And I think black should be aiming for d5 somewhere. I guess it's an important move because otherwise you could get into a bind with knight b5, rook d1, and Awonder of course plays it. A very good move. Now attacking the e4 pawn, and Arjun is so quick. He pushes the pawn forward to e5, gaining space. Knight jumps into e4. Now if you kick the knight away with f3, there's this very irritating move, queen h4, attacking here, looking at g3 square. So Arjun jumps knight b5 here. He's looking at this c7 and d6 squares to attack. Awonder has to be super careful. He goes bishop f5 and lines up against the queen. But this is not a good move because now white can push the pawn, being not at all afraid of the fact that the bishop is opposite the queen. And Arjun plays it. A very, very good move. Attacking the knight in the center. And Awonder jumps into g3. But this position looks very shaky. Queen d2 by Arjun. He's pawn down, but look at this. The knight is attacked. This pawn on e5 is super strong. The knight is jumping into d6. And they say that Arjun is the man of imbalances. He loves to imbalance the position. Knight takes f1 taken here. The bishop on f1 is chopped. King takes f1. He is taken. And at this point, the pawn on e5 is super strong for white, and Awonder goes rook e6. He's preparing for the knight jumping into d6. Arjun goes rook a d1. He brings his rook into the center of the board. The way in which Arjun is kind of building his position is really amazing. Now Awonder goes queen h4. I love this move as well. Awonder is asking a question to the bishop. Well, I'm putting pressure on you. I also am putting pressure here. And Arjun immediately sets the board on fire with g4. This is a typical Arjun move. And Awonder is like, Arjun, why are you giving me a free pawn? I was already a pawn up. Now I have an extra pawn, so I'm 2 pawns up. But Arjun has some devious plans. Now you can see rook h1 will trap the queen. The bishop is hanging. Insane. And Awonder blunders with bishop e4. Instead, if bishop g4, fg4, queen g4, this would have been a very nice idea. With knight c7, you need to find rook f8. If you take, f takes e6 and this is pinned. Maybe this is what Awonder missed, which is why he played bishop e4, and Arjun picks up the bishop now. And yes, the king is weak on h2, on f2, but Does that mean that this is trouble time? Pawn takes now by Awonder. Look at him zoning into the board, but Arjun, as calm as a cucumber there. Rook takes e4, he takes the pawn, and Arjun really has been moving around a lot in the game. That's his style as well. He doesn't like to sit on the board. Rook e8 played by his opponent, and Arjun now goes for a long thing, 24 minutes, and plays bishop g3. I guess it's clear that you must take this pawn on e5, where after trade, it's an interesting position. You can even trade the queens here and then go into this endgame, but instead he goes f5. Arjun chops off the pawn. G takes f5. Queen takes f5. The king looks a bit exposed, and you should know that a move like king g2 loses to queen e4. Of course, the rook is hanging, so queen f4 played by Arjun. Queen trade, bit tricky. You will win the e5 pawn, so Awonder tries to keep the queens on the board. And yes, what a position this is. Yeah, when Arjun plays, it almost feels like as if some engine is playing the game. Not at all afraid of king safety. He's just insane. Queen g4, queen f7. Not a good move again, because now there is this move, queen f3, offering a trade. Yes, he finds it. Queen f3 on the board. Again, taking here and taking on e5 would lead to mass exchanges. Awonder wants to keep the queens on the board. He goes queen e7, which is not a great move. Rook d5 should be a very powerful move, defending this all important pawn, but he goes rook e1, which is also very strong. And Arjun now says to Awonder that if you want to win my queen with rook f8, you cannot, because I have rook f4 here. And he plays rook f8 anyway. 6 minutes for Awonder, 8 minutes for Arjun. There is no second time control. This is all that they have. Rook e8 back, again putting pressure on the e5 pawn. Arjun looking super calm here. What's the move that he's going to play? He finds queen to d5. Excellent move. Rook d8 played, attacking the queen, and queen comes back to c4. So with this pin, it's difficult to win the pawn because of rook takes pawn. So king h7 played, just tucking the king to the side of the board. Queen e4 check. King comes back to g8. And this is what Arjun is so good at. Rook f3. Well, you can't take this pawn yet because of bishop e5, and this is just lost. So now queen comes to c5 with a check. I believe a good time to move the king away. King g2. You can see how step by step Arjun is solidifying his material edge, while Awonder does not have any way to take advantage of this, of his maybe better coordinated pieces. Safer king. Knight d4 played, and he takes finally the pawn in a situation which perhaps wasn't much ideal. I think Awonder now has couple of traps that he has set. Firstly, the rook is hanging here, so Arjun finds queen h4, defending the rook, and now queen d5. The important move here, you can't take rook takes rook. After knight takes, you win the rook here, it's pinned. So knight takes c6 is an excellent move by Arjun. Rook g5 check, and here you have to play king f2, which is important, and he finds it. Awonder takes back here, but now a check on e8 followed by a check on e4 is going to trade the queens, and well, you are a rook down. Awonder resigns. Arjun Erigaisi scores his first win of the tournament. He also gains rating points here, which is good enough for him to become India #1, surpassing both Gukesh and Pragnananda. Well, Arjun has his eyes set on this tournament, and I think he's going to be one of the favorites. I mean, absolutely a big favorite to win the Chennai Grand Masters. We'll see how that pans out, but for now, Arjun has done well in round 1 of the Chennai Grand Masters 2025.
Arjun, what a way to start. The Chennai Grand Masters, very convincing win over Awonder Liang today. First, tell us, like, what was this so long prep? Yeah, you were like 1 minute 36 seconds or something.
Yeah, 1 hour 36.
Yeah, 1 hour 36 minutes. Like, what was the prep going into this game?
Yeah, I thought this could be one of the possible lines to happen on the board, and okay, this position after knight d4 is equal, but I didn't know knight c6. Although it's equal, I think it's more pleasant for white if black doesn't know how to play, because his structure is really bad. But yeah, knight c6, bishop f1, I really started liking my position more and more. And I thought I was like at least slightly better to the wall. And after queen h4, g4, my advantage grew, and after bishop e4, it grew further.
Starting with a win here in Chennai, how do you see the field overall? Like, what are your impressions on the players who are here?
Yeah, it's a strong field. Maybe compared to last year, it's a bit weaker, but nevertheless, it's still a very strong field. And no one really like you can count on to get a free point or something. You have to earn each and every win of yours.
And after the game, we saw that many fans they were taking selfies with you. You were doing autographs. How was the experience interacting with the fans here?
Yeah, it's good. It's good that like nowadays more and more tournaments are opening for this, like in esports and regular. So yeah, I'm happy with tournament.
Thank you so much, Arjun, and best wishes for that experience.
Thank you.
It's time for us to now look at the chess neurons moment of the day. So here, Arjun very importantly found this move queen. You have to find which move he played. So you can't find the solution here, but when you make the move, it all opens up here. You can find this entire game annotated beautifully by Grandmaster Ankit Rajpara. Chess Neurons is a website where you can find great positional ideas for you to improve. There are puzzles, videos, blogs, discussions. You can also log in and have a 7-day free trial. So I'm going to pin the link of this position down below, and you can actually solve it and a few more positions from round 1 of the Chennai Grand Masters 2025.